Hey everybody, welcome to this two-for recap video where we're going to recap quickly match 3 and match 4. So if we look at the results for match 3, the big story here is that the NLRA Wizards destroyed the competition, beating Marshall and Harbor City, the two closest, by almost triple. So NLRA did an amazing job, followed by Marshall and Harbor City. Marshall edged out Harbor City, but they're both quite close, followed again closely by Washburn, and it kind of drops down from there. Another interesting thing here is the Fighting Moose, who had been up towards the top previously, have slipped down just a little bit. So that's where things are at right now. Let's take a look at some of the NLRA Wizards strategy here. So if I look at this, of course, we see their tank is dark, but I can change the style sheet so we can see what it's doing. So who's the Wizards? Okay, there they are. They're the top tank there, I believe. Yes, that's right. So they're this top tank here. They actually have no rear sensor, which is kind of interesting. So I can actually forward back and forth through the kind of slow-mo the round. So you can see NLRA is up here at the top. So they've got two sensors that they're using as sort of a forward sensor configuration. Very good at honing in on inbound targets. So that was close, but they managed to edge out. I don't know if that's Marshall or Harbor City, but obviously very effective tank, and I think the interesting thing here is the no rear defense mechanism. Pretty interesting. If we look at Marshall, the Marshall Hilltoppers, I believe, are the remaining purple tank here. So this tank. So they're using one for fire control, a left and right front sensor, and then a rear sensor. So let's play through that one in slow-mo. Marshall's right up here. So we can see they're using that front sensor and the fire control sensor. It looks like they're not moving the turret, they're just moving the tank. Pretty accurate, pretty quick to hit its targets. And will he get the brown tank? Survey says, oh, almost. Stay on target. There you go. So how about Harbor City? Also purple, but a darker purple. Harbor City is this purple tank with the two front sensors. So it looks like what they're doing is they have two front sensors and then an inner sensor that they're also using for fire control and other control, and then a rear sensor. So let's look at that one in slow-mo. So here they are down at the bottom. It's quite a tangle of tanks. They're being followed by a tank. Pretty responsive. It's quite a mess. Hard to see exactly what's going on here, but it almost looks to me like if this tank, if its turret was moving, it might actually be able to hit at times. It might have been able to hit Marshall, but it wasn't, so they don't. Okay, and then Washburn is light gray. So they're here. They're this light gray tank here with the sensor spread, and they do fairly well in this round. light gray tank down here on the lower left. Also hard to see what's happening. There's kind of a battle going on. So you can do this too. You can click through one round at a time and see what's happening with your tank. I'm not sure if there's a way for you to change the style sheet on your browser, but there may be, so you can look into that. It's hard to see what's going on here. So let's look at the standings. So this is the standings after match 3. So NLRA Wizards took a commanding lead, and the rest of the standings are here. Harbor City, Duluth Fighting Moose, Esco, Grantsburg, Washburn, Marshall. Spooner, Mountain Iron Buell, Chisholm, and Northeast Range. So now let's look at match 4. Now match 4 was that 100-byte tank. Okay, so obviously the big story here is Harbor City almost doubled NLRA. So they did quite well, followed by Marshall. Couple schools in the 8 range, Washburn, Grantsburg, Marshall, they came back up. And unfortunately, Fighting Moose fell even further down. Other tanks are kind of in the lower half, tend to have been in the lower half previously. Again, Fighting Moose, too bad. Hopefully you guys can pick it up for the next round. Let's look at how Harbor City's tank design behaves. Okay, now I'm not going to show you the code, but we can look at the behavior of the tank. And I think maybe yellow on, because I haven't changed the design here. So it's interesting, Harbor City just using 3 sensors, it looks like. Similar design to their 4-sensor tank. And in a sense similar to the design that NLRA had used. So they have a pretty good design there. Obviously they did very well with that design. And if we look at NLRA Wizards, of course I'm going to change the style sheet. So NLRA Wizards had a really interesting strategy for this challenge, which was to park in one place and simply sweep, to sweep and focus their targeting that way. So they actually just sat in a single spot and used that as their strategy. So wherever they fell, that's where they laid, and obviously it was the second most successful strategy, but not as successful as Harbor City. So let's look at Marshall Hilltoppers, sort of a light purple. I believe they're down here. They also stuck with a minimalist tank, so even though you could use as many sensors as you wanted, you only had 100 bytes, so it kind of controls how you can control those sensors. So Marshall's tank, good design, interesting strategy. It looks to me like maybe are they just driving in a straight line? I think they do just drive in a straight line and use the front bumper to control whether they pause. So it doesn't look to me like there's any steering unless there's something with the rear sensor, which we don't get to see triggered. But that's a pretty interesting strategy, way of dealing with it. Now let's look at the Sky Pirates. Grantsburg, they're kind of a, which tank are they? They're this smaller tank here, light purple. And again, minimal use of sensors due to the byte limits. Pretty reasonably effective tank. Obviously not in the top 3, but still quite good. Barely missed getting hit. And sorry about that alarm. Are they going to do it? Will they do it? Oh, so that's exciting. So NLRA tried to hit them, but just missed outside of their reach. and then Grantsburg got NLRA. So that's a fun little slow-mo moment for you. Okay, so here's the standings after match 3, where the NLRA Wizards now have a commanding lead. And if we take a look at the standings after match 4, I can flip back and forth here. We see NLRA Wizards still have a very 20-point lead, basically, over Harbor City. Duluth Fighting Moose are still up towards the top. ESCO is still doing well, and followed by Grantsburg, so the rankings there haven't changed. But following that, we see that Marshall Hilltoppers have moved up 1. They're beating Castle Guards by 0.44 points, so pretty close. Spooner's still in 6th place. Chisholm has edged out the Mountain Iron Buell Rangers. So Chisholm is 10th, Mountain Iron Buell is 9th, and the Northeast Range Nighthawks are now in 11th place. So that's the results. Please, again, please RSVP to the invite. Either tell us that you can't come or tell us that you are coming so we can make appropriate plans. Thank you so much.